Good evening from New York. I'm Chris Hayes. It's another election night in America. No, you're not wrong. It is Thursday, but it is election night in America because voters are headed to the polls in Tennessee for some key midterm primary races today. It's their first election, I should note, under a new congressional map that was pushed through by state Republicans in May on the orders of Donald Trump after the Supreme Court gutted what was left of the Voting Rights Act. And it's one of the most extreme Republican gerrymanders in the whole country. It's one that took the state's last majority-minority congressional district in Memphis, a city that's been represented by one member of Congress for 100 years, and split it conveniently into three pieces in order to make a map that favors Republicans in all 9 of the state's House seats and is much, much more difficult to elect a single black representative. This is just what Donald Trump wanted. Let the party, his party, pick their voters instead of the other way around. We're going to keep an eye on the races and bring you any updates from Tennessee. But this is how the Republicans plan to win the midterms. It's been their plan from the beginning. It has always been, first and foremost, to do this unprecedented mid-decade redistricting with an assist from the Supreme Court to rig the board with gerrymandering. And then, as we're seeing every day, to use any stratagem at their disposal, to sabotage and subvert fair elections, right? But they also do have a backup plan. We're now on plan C here. Now, the backup plan, I don't want to spoil it for you, is not to produce some tangible policy wins, make people's lives better, bring down prices. No. It is to flood America with pure hate and demagoguery. As more candidates are emerging from these primaries, you are seeing that hatred play out among Republicans and on right-wing media.
God forbid you're going to have President El-Sayed in 3 years.
Will those Haley Stevens voters really vote for the guy who's the socialist dreamboat of diversity?
Abdul El-Sayed. Can you believe this? He doesn't love Israel. He doesn't love Jewish people. He hates them.
I find this alarming. That people like Francesca Hong and the candidate, however you pronounce his name, in Michigan, are going to win these primaries.
If you're voting for Saeed, you might as well throw in a few burqas and mosques, and it's a pretty clear choice of which one you want for me.
Hey, we might build a 30-foot wall around our state because I know what's coming. I can see it coming. I can hear it coming. I can, you can just smell it.
They want to cancel Thanksgiving. They want to cancel Christmas. El-Sayed is also an Islamist, as is Mondami. And look, you see the green-red convergence where the communists and the Islamists, they want Sharia law.
The modern Democratic coalition, which is self-hating white liberals united to people who just came to the country for the first time and don't actually have the sense of appreciation for it that they should.
I mean, we could have cut a montage twice as long, 3 times as long. It's just that all the time, all day being pumped into people. And now, just like the most vile demagoguery they can possibly muster, particularly this disgusting anti-Muslim bigotry and hate that is being whipped up at rhetorical levels that are just through the roof. I mean, the vitriol that they beta tested against New York Mayor Zohran Mamdani is now available for wide purchase, brought to bear on one candidate in particular. Of course, the man they were talking about there, Abdul El-Sayed, who emerged victorious from that contentious Senate primary in Michigan on Tuesday. He's a native-born American, Rhodes Scholar, and epidemiologist who's the child of 2 engineers from Egypt. You heard what Trump and Vance and Cruz just said about him. Yesterday, his Republican opponent, former Congressman Mike Rogers, put out a statement saying he was, quote, running against someone who believes America deserved 9/11, which is just a straight-up malicious lie, a complete fabrication. The Senate Republican Senatorial Committee called El-Sayed the most radical candidate in America. And, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Look how cute we're being referred to him by his full name, Abdul Rahman Mohammed El-Sayed, a departure from his previous press releases. It's constant, right? I mean, when Fox does this, and when the right wing, when they all sort of focus the lenses on the same place and they just beam it that way, torrent of hate. I got to say, it's in some ways, it's beyond anything I could ever remember, even the post 9/11 era of Islamophobia, at least at the kind of highest levels. And it's also just, aside from being morally and defensively and gross, it's toxic. It's toxic to the body politic. It really is. How do you think these messages of irrational fear and hatred sound in the ears of the remaining MAGA faithful? The people who gleefully held those signs that said mass deportations now at Trump's last RNC. All of this, again, day in, day out, in a bunch of different platforms, is a permission structure for ghastly levels of racism among the Republican base. And I mean like the hardcore, like distilled essence of the base. We're not just talking about like Trump voters or people who consider themselves conservatives. If you are wondering about the effect it is having on the people it's being targeted to the most, we have two incredible, depressing, but incredibly illustrative examples of that this week. So I'm not sure if you saw either of these. This is really important. The first one came up at Trump's rally in actually Las Vegas last night. That took place one day after the shooting death of a Vegas police officer, a real tragedy. He was a 30-year-old Marine veteran named Austin Abdelnaby. That's him right there. Last night, before Trump spoke, the Republican Nevada governor, Joe Lombardo, attempted to honor the fallen officer Abdelnaby. I want you to listen to the MAGA crowd's reaction.
So I know Pastor Tice spoke about Officer Abdelnaby a few moments ago. No, we're not booing. We're not booing him. He's the officer that passed away here recently. So, and I asked if we had a moment of silence, and he said we had not. So I would like your indulgence for a moment of silence for Officer Austin.
You see that? No, we're not booing him. They booed a cop who was killed in the line of duty, knowing nothing about him other than his name. Just his name. Just the first few syllables of his name coming out. They know that. There's a trigger there, right? That was enough to elicit boos. Immediately, his name, no context. Officer Abdelnaby, boo. All while senators like Ron Johnson go on podcasts and pretend not to be able to pronounce Abdel El-Sayed's name. You can't stop this kind of hatred once you've unleashed it and weaponized it. It's a dangerous thing. And it's already impacting Republican races in the most surprising of ways. The most remarkable story from election night is one you may not have heard. And it happened in Michigan's 8th congressional district, which, by the way, Donald Trump won in 2024, and it's a competitive district. Well, in this week's open primary, Trump endorsed a Republican named Amir Hassan. You see there for that seat. Now, he's a really guy with a really interesting bio. He's a Flint, Michigan native. He's a Navy veteran. He was a Muslim, but he converted to Christianity, and now he's very, frankly, anti-Muslim and anti-immigrant. He's sort of a star in conservative circles for being that. He also got endorsements from House Speaker Mike Johnson and South Carolina Senator Tim Scott. Now, his main competition in this Republican primary for a competitive seat was a guy named Tom Smith, who is a small businessman whose campaign page on Facebook had 95 followers. Tom Smith had raised less than $2,000 for the race. We know that because it is written in his last campaign filing with the Federal Election Commissions, which I will show you here. Smith hand wrote it and snail mailed it to the FEC. Quote, "Dear FEC," handwritten, "this is to notify you that Tom Smith for Congress was a late entry into the race. P.S. I could not file this form electronically because I have had no success logging in and not have been able to get response from the help desk." So, in fact, at some point last month, Smith cut a 15-second video saying he was dropping out of the race and endorsing another candidate who had gathered petition signatures to get on the ballot. So that's the guy. Donald Trump and Mike Johnson have endorsed Amir Hassan, okay? He's got a perfect bio. It should have been clear sailing for Amir Hassan, the formerly Muslim, currently Christian, black man from Flint. Except a lot of Donald Trump's followers assumed Hassan was Muslim. They wondered why Trump would endorse a Muslim. They called Hassan a snake in the grass. The disinformation about this man and the hatred, it got so bad the candidate felt too compelled to address it in a car selfie video.
My name is Amir Hassan. I'm born and raised in Flint. My whole family has been here for hundreds of years. I'm not an immigrant. Secondly, I'm 100% Christian. So you can believe what you want to believe. But believe me, I'm not the great deceiver.
Yes, but isn't that exactly what the great deceiver would say? Well, on Tuesday, Hassan had his day at the polls, and he lost the Republican primary by nearly 20 points to Tom Smith, the guy with the handwritten FEC note, the guy who had raised less than $2,000, and the guy who had dropped out of the race. Why do you think that is? There is one and only one explanation for why that happened. In a party that is now utterly organized around open bigotry as its reason for being, as its last resort. Now, this is not a new story. We've seen it before. The Muslim ban, we've seen it the first moment that Trump announced his run in 2015. Trump's abuse of prominent Muslim and Arab American and Asian American politicians, the way they sort of bray and lose their minds over Ilhan Omar or Mamdani or El Sayed. And they'll demand that every Democrat denounce a leftist streamer while actual Republican elected officials up and down, from the president, the top, to Congress, to state houses across the country, are engaged day in, day out right now in a frankly racist project to make everyone with a last name like El Sayed or Hassan or Abdel Nabi feel like they are not really American, like they don't really belong here, and to turn all of the brewing pent-up anger and rage and frustration at this corrupt failure of an administration onto our Muslim neighbors. That's their solution. It is already ugly, and it's going to get uglier.